Hello again, everyone. Dr. Gatus here, and I'd like to welcome you to another YouTube video session, which I call Dr. G's Medical Musings. The topic of today is, why the heck do I keep waking up in the middle of the night? Anybody who's over the age of 50 has the occasional problems with sleeping, and I have many patients who have trouble sleeping, and for some that's the inability to fall asleep, but for many they say they keep waking up in the middle of the night, and that's rather troubling. So as I began to research it, as we were taught in naturopathic medical school, and I'm sure they do it in regular medical schools also, we have as humans 4 to 6 REM and non-REM sleep cycles. In other words, REM is the rapid eye movement, and non-rapid eye movement sleep cycles every night. And at the end of each cycle, it's typical to wake up just briefly. So 4 to 6 times a night, you can just briefly wake up at the top of the sleep cycle before you go into another one. So technically speaking, nobody really sleeps through the night. You should be able to go back to sleep, however, so the question should actually be, why can't I go back to sleep after a sleep cycle? And there are many sleep stealers that can prevent us from falling back to sleep, and I'm going to talk about 9 of these in no particular order. Sleep stealer number 1 is having a thyroid problem. As you're, I'm sure, aware, the thyroid regulates your metabolism, and an overactive thyroid gland, for example, can cause an adrenaline rush or surge, which leads to anxiety feelings, which in turn can lead to sleep problems or insomnia. Hypothyroidism in women is the low thyroid condition, a lower functioning thyroid, and it's more common in women, of course, up to 8 times more prone than men to have low thyroid, and 60% of insomnia is thyroid related. I'll say that again, 60% of insomnia is thyroid related, and since women have more thyroid problems, that would indicate that perhaps women need to have their thyroid checked or they're having sleep problems. So sleep stealer number 2 is the case of someone who has mild depression. And it might be interesting for some of you to know that even, we mentioned hypothyroid individuals and sleep problems, but hypothyroid individuals also manifest depression tendencies. Depression is more common in low thyroid conditions, but insomnia is typically present in any type of depression. And 17% of women who have insomnia also have mild depression. And some of the symptoms that they come in with, they talk about having negative thoughts, they're worrying excessively, they've got lack of energy, they've got body aches. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Now, these symptoms are less severe than major depression, so these women tend to be undiagnosed with sleep issues. And it is difficult to figure out which came first. The depression, did it cause the sleep issues, or did the sleep issues cause the depression? Sleep stealer number 3, sleep apnea. Most people think that sleep apnea is a typically male thing, an overweight male thing, which has snoring as the cardinal sign. But research actually shows that 17% of women, I don't know why there's a lot of 17% in here. Anyway, 17% of women are likely to have sleep apnea, but 85% of those cases go undiagnosed also. So as women age, especially going through menopause, they're just as likely as men to have sleep apnea, even if they are at a healthy weight. So says Dr. Rafael Palayo, MD of the Stanford Sleep Medicine Center. This brings up the question of whether sleep apnea and sleep problems are related to changes in estrogen or progesterone levels, especially in menopausal women. And any of you who know me as part of my female clientele Low progesterone is, in my opinion, just as much a factor in women as the possibility of low estrogen. Women are also more likely to develop symptoms related to being sleep deprived, like difficulty finding the right word, clumsiness, fatigue, and again, depression or anxiety. And no, just because you have difficulty finding the right word doesn't mean that you're developing senile dementia. Sleep stealer number 4, acid reflux. Acid from the stomach can back up into the esophagus, leading to heartburn or the muscular reflex coughing. And this can happen in the middle of the night too, so either way, it can wake you up and you can have problems going back to sleep. Individuals with chronic reflux are twice as likely to have problems with sleeping. Sleep stealer number 5, alcohol before bed. Now, alcohol before bed is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, if you have too much or more alcohol than the liver can handle, you have a higher blood alcohol level, which can actually help you to fall asleep because it sedates the brain. However, the drawback to alcohol is that when it reaches that level, that you have a blood alcohol level, because the liver can't handle it, it affects the REM sleep, which arguably is the most restful sleep. So the second half of the night's sleep will be restless and fragmented if you have too much alcohol before bed. Sleep stealer number 6, vitamin D deficiency. The Harvard School of Public Health found that 12% of individuals with low vitamin D slept for less than 5 hours a night. And I remember on the one of the serial shows, what the heck was, anyway, the actor Ted Knight used to sleep only 4 hours a night. I often wondered whether maybe we should have, or they should have checked his vitamin D level. Anyway, 12% of individuals with low vitamin D sleep for less than 5 hours a night, and 50% of them were awake for more than 90 minutes in the middle of the night. Vitamin D is not just a vitamin, it's a hormone, so it appears to have an effect on the parts of the brain that have a role in sleep production. Sleep stealer number 7, exposure to light after sundown. We all know this one because that creates melatonin deficiency. If you're on your devices at night before you go to bed, it begins to shut down the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone. And smartphones and those type of things, tablets, tend to be the most problematic. Electronic devices are potent sleep disruptors. Sleep stealer number 8 is stress. The stress response, or the fight or flight response, activates the part of the brain that's to do with attention and arousal, designed to keep you awake. So chronic stress can cause stress-related insomnia. From a more natural perspective, we can sometimes talk about adrenal fatigue, which is really underfunctioning adrenal glands. In the early stages of stress, hormones like adrenaline and cortisol are released, which are both energizing. If the secretion of these hormones continues at night, it kind of makes sense that your sleep architecture will often be compromised. The other thing I found interesting is that adrenaline and cortisol increase the filtration rate in the kidney, so often that's one of the reasons why we get up more at night to urinate. Which brings us to sleep stealer number 9, nocturia due to adrenal fatigue or low aldosterone. Getting up at night, even if you have limited your fluid intake before bed, and if it's unrelated to medical conditions like if you're male, benign prostatic hypertrophy or infection, may mean that your balance of water and electrolytes is off. So with adrenal fatigue, the hormone aldosterone is undersecreted, which causes the body to increase urine production by eliminating sodium, including during the night. So someone with later stage adrenal fatigue, nocturia, due to the lack of salt is common, which means also lack of aldosterone. In other words, if you're in adrenal fatigue, you're kind of tired all the time, and if you consume water without salt, your body may try to maintain this balance by getting rid of some of the water, which wakes you up to urinate. And thinking about it might even create some type of dehydration situation as well. So what can you do to determine the cause of why you can't easily fall back to sleep, or what can you do about it. Have a thyroid panel done by your naturopath or MD. Talk to your healthcare professional about any feelings you might have about depression and anxiety. Have a sleep apnea screen done if warranted. Have your hormonal levels or hormonal metabolites checked in saliva or urine. And if you're menopausal, understand that the blood alone won't help you on this one. You have to do either a saliva check or metabolites in the urine. That's far more accurate. You might consider doing a 4-point cortisol as well, which tracks the cortisone or cortisol level in your daily activities or over your day. Don't eat past 7 p.m. and stop drinking alcohol several hours before bed. Have your vitamin D level checked. Put your electronic devices away at least 1 hour before bed. Potentially have your melatonin level checked and supplement if necessary. Reduce your stress level, practice mindfulness or meditation, yoga, and correct adrenal fatigue or the hypocortisolism if warranted. As always, if you like these videos, which I hope you do, of course, please press the subscribe button so that I know you're out there. Also, you can let me know if there are any pressing questions or concerns in your life that you'd like answered. Now, most of us know on some level that the mind affects the body, and I do believe this quite strongly, and I may mention more about that later on in some